Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Made in Bartlett, a program that is dedicated to the primary industries of the Bartlett area. We want to thank, first of all, First South Financial, who underwrites this program. Thank you, First South Financial. And also a little shout out to V2 Media, who is the producer of this podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. And we are joined today by our special guest, Dr. Sherwin Stewart, CEO of St. Francis Hospital. Good afternoon,
John,
Stewart.
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, well, it was great to have you here. I've been wanting to have you here for quite some time.
We finally made it.
Yeah, we finally did in this hot weather we got here.
Wow. Welcome to the Memphis area, right?
Yeah. Sherwin, you've been at St. Francis for how long now?
We've been there 18 months, and it's been a fun journey.
Good.
18 months.
Well, you arrived, and was there anything in particular that you addressed when you first got there, or was there just, everybody was there in open arms saying, "Come on in, Dr. Stewart. Glad to see you."
The city of Bartlett has been super welcoming. The hospital has been super welcoming. I tell you what makes Bartlett Hospital a true community hospital. It's the people that's inside of it. They embraced us with open arms. They were ready to be better, and they are better. We're Bartlett's hospital, and the welcome has just been overwhelming.
Great. And, this is a little tidbit, and a lot of little tidbits we might share with you today.
Sure.
But it's my understanding, and you may know this or not, but Bartlett was the largest city in the state of Tennessee without a hospital until St. Francis came in along. I don't know if you'd heard that.
I've heard that. We've had a brief conversation about that once before, but I did not know it before coming here.
Yeah. Well, and that's pretty unique. And so, Bartlett had to fight for this hospital, folks. I don't know how many of those out here know how competitive your field is.
Absolutely.
But it is very competitive amongst hospitals. We don't want to get too far into that, but I relocated here from Nashville and did not know how competitive it was until I located in Memphis. And I think every market's probably like that, but Memphis is no different.
Same story for me. Prior to being brought here, I was in the Hampton Roads area working for Centera Health Systems. That's in Virginia. Spent several years there. Prior to that, I was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. That's why the invitation to come to Memphis was so inviting. My wife and I looked at each other and said, "Let's go." Anytime to get back to that side of the country, Tennessee, we love. And so, in fact, prior to being in Chattanooga, Tennessee, we were down in Jackson, Mississippi, at Central Mississippi Medical Center. So being on this side of the map is just being at home for us.
Great. Glad to hear that. Well, let's review your life a little bit, Sherwin.
All right.
And you and I have talked about this and your experience and what brought you into the hospital administration arena. But let's go back a few years, back when you were a young man.
Going back to a young man.
Yeah, around 10 years or so.
Oh, about 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how did you start out?
I started out with an interest in ambulances and EMS, emergency medical services. I often tell the story that while many of my high school friends were going to the football game on Friday night, I went to the local volunteer fire department. So shout out to the Hollins Volunteer Fire Department in Roanoke, Virginia. But that's where I got my start. And I learned that I had a passion for it. And so I went on to become a paramedic, and I received that at the University of Alabama in Huntsville. Where I worked for HIMSI, or Huntsville Emergency Medical Services Incorporated. And I got my paramedic back in 1993. Once I was able to finish paramedic school, I was recruited to Jackson, Mississippi, and that's where we talked about the Central Mississippi Medical Center hospital days. But I spent many years working as an EMT paramedic down in Jackson, Mississippi. But more importantly than anything, I met an individual there that mentored me into the hospital business. We went to grad school together. I'm a graduate to Belhaven University there in Jackson, Mississippi. Shout out to them. But he and I went to grad school together. And one day we had a conversation. I told him, I want to be a hospital administrator. I want to figure out how to get into that business. He was a hospital CEO. And he said, well, if you do what I tell you to do and follow the journey that I lay out for you, you'll be there. 15 years later, he called me and said, hey, I've got a hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. Are you interested? I said, let's take a look at it. And here I am.
Oh, I bet that gentleman. He's over at St. Francis.
He's over at St.
Park.
Francis Park campus, yes.
That's right. I remember him now. He spoke very highly of you.
Well, I appreciate that. He's giving me the rough and the lowdown too. So,
well, when he recruited you to enter this arena, did he mention to you about the headaches and the stress involved in something like that? I cannot imagine running a hospital without it being daily stress.
It is a stressful job, but it's a rewarding job, particularly when you work for a health system that puts the care of the patient at the top.
Yeah.
Quality being that leading indicator for Tenet Health, our parent organization, and then the same for Scott over at Park as our market CEO. He makes it very clear that our job is to take care of patients. And so when you work in that environment, you're able to relieve some of the stress or at least get some reward to go with some of the stress. And then when you have a great team of people such as we have over at Bartlett, one of the things that I would highlight about our hospital is that many of the men and women that work at the hospital in Bartlett are from the Bartlett or the Memphis surrounding areas. So it's home to them. They have an investment in that facility, and they want to see us succeed.
Great. And okay, so you got St. Francis Hospital Bartlett, you got St. Francis Hospital Memphis
Park,
and of course you have the other hospitals that are here. So how does Bartlett? I guess the question I want to ask: I guess all hospitals are full service hospitals. Are they done, or is that a way to describe it, or how do you?
No, I wouldn't say that all hospitals are full service hospitals. There are a number of different levels, such as Park. Well, let's first say there's teaching academic hospitals. They teach doctors to be physicians. There are trauma centers. They specialize in trauma.
Okay.
There are tertiary hospitals. There are rural hospitals. So there are a number of different kinds of hospitals. I would describe Bartlett as your community hospital.
Okay.
We have a number of service lines or specialties that we take care of. And I guess just to give you the technical side, Bartlett is a 196-bed hospital. We have 7 OR suites. We have 2 cath labs for cardiovascular care. We have an ED that is 24/7 with board-certified emergency room physicians. That makes a difference. And we have 34 beds in our emergency department. We have specialties of general surgery, specialties of orthopedics, urology, cardiology, pulmonary, GI, interventional radiology, and I could continue to go on with others. But I think what makes us special is we are dedicated to being the community hospital.
Yeah.
We're not trying to be a trauma center. We have partners around the community that do that. We acknowledge and we know that there are rural hospitals out there. Their patients, their citizens, they need a higher level of care. So we position ourselves to be able to give our services to those rural hospitals out in surrounding counties, Tipton County, Fayette County, wherever they may be, as far as Arkansas, as far as Alabama, that can send their patients down in Mississippi. They want to send their patients to our hospital. We make our doors open to them.
Well, that makes sense, though. I mean, every hospital should know, they specialize. A lot of hospitals specialize in certain areas. I know, like trauma, I've heard if you get shot, you want to end up down at the regional one, right? I mean,
They are our trauma center.
Yeah, they are a trauma center. So that's what I've always heard. Of course, let's hope that never happens to us. But anyway, so the Bartlett St. Francis. Do you want to describe a little bit about what it is that y'all offer there that benefits the community? I mean, I know that the maternity ward is no longer there. Is that right?
Right. The maternity ward is no longer there, but we have a vision of women's health. And so when you talk about maternity care, that's just one small segment of women's health.
Right.
And so we are pressing our services for women's health in terms of mammography, breast health, women's gyne-onc or gynecological oncology, women who have cancer specific to women. So that's part of where we're going with our women's services service line.
Yeah. And I've noticed too, and you can elaborate on this, but it seems like that, well, I know that there's some clinics that have opened up near your hospital. In other words, Ortho South, for an example, they have a location just right up the street from you. And there's other clinics around there. What's the trend in that area? I mean, are they aligned with your hospital? Are they there because, well, why do you have these satellite clinics, I guess? I mean, I see they're popping up all over the place. So,
well, that's one of the trends of healthcare. We have different specialties popping up around hospitals as support, and not even support, because they're private. Ortho South is Ortho South. But what's good about the St. Francis healthcare system is we have partnerships with a lot of these different physicians or different physician organizations. Ortho South is one of our strong partners over at Bartlett. And so you can go to Ortho South and you can receive their specialized services, and then you can schedule your rehab over at Bartlett, because we do have outpatient rehab services as part of our portfolio at St. Francis Bartlett. Or if you go to Ortho South and you choose to have your surgery in our OR suite, then many of their physicians have credentialing and privileges to do your surgery at Bartlett so that you can recover at Bartlett if you need an overnight stay.
Okay, good. And does the hospital actually have, I'm sure you do, but I don't know to what extent, you have doctors that are part of your staff, correct?
Absolutely. We have employee physicians and we have unemployed community physicians. We both have our medical staff is about 450 physicians. I would say that our employed number is somewhere around 300, 350. That's a range.
And that's counting nurses, doctors?
No, that's medical staff. That would be a medical physician or an advanced practice provider, such as a nurse, NP, CRNA, or a physician assistant.
So the other people that help run the hospital, they're not even in that number?
They're not in that medical staff number. And we have about 700 employees altogether at Bartlett.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that large.
Absolutely.
That's a big impact on the community.
It is a big impact on the community. Again, about 700 professionals. And when you talk about services to the community, it's a perfect segue to talk about the services that we provide that are uncompensated care. And so whether or not that individual has the ability to pay, whether or not their insurance provider is a provider or a payer, that is in network with us, there's about $54 million worth of uncompensated care already this year. That's not a touting point for us. That's our obligation to make sure that we're taking care of the people of the community. And so St. Francis embraces that.
54 million uncompensated.
Yes.
So these are people who walk through the door without any insurance at all, and y'all
underinsured or no insurance, or just no resources.
Yeah. So your market area, when you consider your market, how far out does that go? I know Bartlett, obviously, but you're right across the street from Memphis. So what is your market?
Absolutely. I would say our primary service area being the Memphis general area, Memphis proper. We'd go as far out as Arlington or Jackson, Tennessee. We cross over into Arkansas. We go as far down as South Haven, Mississippi. We are growing in every direction.
So why would a patient choose to come to your hospital as opposed to another hospital? I mean, if you get somebody from, say, Jackson, Tennessee, what brings them to St. Francis Bartlett?
Well, that's a great question. The first thing I'll tackle is the word you use, choose. One of the trends of healthcare today is patient satisfaction and patient choice. So oftentimes patients have an option, they have multiple options of where they want to go. And why they would come to St. Francis Bartlett is because we have a number of things that make us special, such as the care that you're going to receive. Quality care is number one. Care with compassion is number two. The ability to embrace the entire family in the healing process is number three. You're not just a number. You're not just another patient on another ward. I was talking with one of our leaders this morning, and she was telling me about a patient story. We had a patient that was about 90 years old, and this was from last week. 90 years old. And what happened is the patient had a son that was local and a daughter who was out of town. Well, the son who was local was not the one that generally made medical decisions for this parent. And so part of the problem as this parent digressed, more of the decision making had to go to the son. And he was just not prepared to make the decision. So we had to embrace him and make sure he knew of the resources available to him. We had to create a safe space for that family member to make sure that he knew all of the resources and understood the decisions that he was being called upon to make in a very short matter of time. And then we also had to make sure that the sister that was out of town was able to get into town as quickly as she needed to get into town. So we helped them make the decision about comfort care and different measures that were available to them as health continued to digress. And I think that what we take away from that is how the Bartlett team recognized that we not only have a patient that we have to give quality care, we have to give them respect, but we also have a family member that's sitting out in the waiting room spiraling. They don't know what to do. So let's grab onto that family member. Let's give them some hope. Let's give them some education. Let's give them some support so that they can make the best decision.
And who's the staff people that convey that compassion?
You know, it really goes back to the men and women that are working in our, what we call on our units, whether it's a medical assistant, whether it's a nurse, whether it's a case manager, whether it's our environmental services, whether it's food services. All of these individuals are trained to look for signs of distress. And so one of the things that happens when you walk down the halls of St. Francis Bartlett, we are watching you to see what's going on. It's amazing how you can find someone that's lost and they don't even know. They give you signs that they're lost within the hospital. And so we're constantly keeping our eyes up. We talk to our staff about making sure they engage everybody that they walk past, because we don't know, is that the patient or is that the family, but they are both just as important. I'll recall probably 3 weeks ago, there was a young lady. If you've been in St. Francis Bartlett, you know about this hallway that I'm talking about.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because it goes from the front of the hospital to the back of the hospital.
I know that.
It is a long, shiny hallway. And so as I'm at the top and I'm walking towards the what I call the end of the hallway, I'm noticing an elderly female walking towards me. She's carrying a bag on one arm. She has a small mini cooler in the other arm, and she has a backpack on, and she is struggling getting up this hallway. So I just walked up to her and I said, "Ma'am, can I carry that for you?" She said, "Sure, you can carry that for me." I carried it to her. Actually, I said, "Now listen, I'm going to stand here with your stuff. You go get your car, and you bring your car back to this point. We'll put your stuff in your car." And so she did just that. The next day, I'm walking down the hallway, and what did I see? I saw the same lady with the same bags, with the same cooler. And I said, "You must have spent the night here last night." She said, "Yeah, I spent the night here last night, but you don't have to worry about carrying my bags because I figured out where to park this time." And so those are the kind of things that give you the reward or give you the satisfaction of doing this job. But it also speaks to how even from and she never knew that I was the CEO of the hospital. She never asked. I never felt the need to tell her. All she needed to know was she was at St. Francis Bartlett and somebody helped her down the hallway. And that's what she'll remember.
So that's great, because, you know, that philosophy, that compassion, it has to resonate from the staff, but it really has to start from the top.
Absolutely.
And if you don't instill that in your staff, or they don't think that you're looking or that you really care, they probably, won't either.
Absolutely.
So I think that says a lot for you, Sherwin.
I appreciate it. I want to give accolades to our team because just over and over, I hear stories about how not the doctors not the nurses, but how our support staff, our environmental services, our food services, our plant operations guys, how they come through for our patients. Because at Bartlett, we're all one patient, all one family, and we collaborate to make sure that the experience. And we talk about trends in healthcare. The trends in healthcare is going towards patient experience. Medicare, Medicaid, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Anthem, Unum, whatever payer source you want to name, they are all making sure that we are good stewards of the healthcare resources we have. Now, that's a long way of saying they're making sure that patients are getting quality and that their satisfaction is being met. And so we have to meet them at that place.
So hospitals are here to stay.
Hospitals are here to stay.
And what are they going to look like 15, 20 years from now?
15 or 20 years from now, I don't know, because I'm going to be so far retired. But I can tell you,
be the youngest retiree there is.
I appreciate it. I can tell you what I'm seeing now that gives me ideas, and that's robotics. Robotics is becoming a major part of today's healthcare and tomorrow's healthcare. I'm proud to say that St. Francis Health, through our parent organization, Tenet, we have embraced robotics. We have 6 robots within our fleet here in the Memphis area. 2 of those robots are at Bartlett. This is super important for a number of reasons, because when we talk about robotics, first of all, they are less invasive. The healing process is shorter, which means you get back to work quicker. You get back to your family quicker. You get back on your feet quicker because you don't have all of the incisions that could come with some of those surgeries. So robotic care is the way of the future. It's also important that we embrace it now, because that is what today's doctors and tomorrow's doctors are being trained on. So if we can't offer them a robot when they came out of school practicing on robots, then we are not marketable. We're not attractive to them. So in order to recruit good talent to the Memphis area, we have to make sure we're embracing robotics. So that is one of the trends of the future that we highlighted Bartlett.
So Sherwin, the robotics is the wave of the future.
Absolutely.
And I'm somewhat familiar with it, not a lot, but I know that the orthopedic industry is been using that a lot. Is that where you see it, or is it in all fields?
It is, John. It's where we see it, but to be honest, it is growing all over the medical spectrum. And so when we think of all of the specialties that we have at Bartlett, whether it's orthopedics, whether it's gynecological, whether it's different types of specialty surgeries, we're seeing the robot being used more and more. So no, not just orthopedics anymore, but the whole gamut of elective and specialty surgeries.
So Sherwin, these young doctors that are going through school right now, they're learning robotics while in school.
Yes, I would say they're exposed to robotics. I don't want to paint the picture that every doctor that comes out of medical school is robotics prepared, because it actually takes specific training, specific hours on the robot, specific cases on the robots. There's actually a certificate of excellence, which our St. Francis Park campus has received their accreditation for a center of excellence for robotic surgery. So yes, these doctors are being exposed, or these surgeons are being exposed to robotics when they come out, but it still takes a lot of specialty training to be able to use the robots. But it is the wave of the future for surgery.
Well, that kind of reminds me of the medical device industry, and they're using CNC machines, computer-controlled machines, and this is the same thing, I guess,
Absolutely.
but on the human body.
Absolutely.
Well, that is unique. And are you finding a little hesitation on the part of some of your patients, or?
It's growing, in fact, they come in and it's trended now to where they're asking us, well, can I do this laparoscopically, or can I get this done by the robot, because I have to get back to work in X amount of days. So it used to be that when we talked about doing surgery with the robot, they were like, I don't know about that. Now it's kind of the expectation to see, can I get it done that way?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, interesting.
Interesting times.
That is a new field that we're going to be entering here, and I'll probably be too old to appreciate it when it finally. Well, it's already here, though. You said it's here and growing. So yeah, I might need it.
Well, if you need surgery, you come to Bartlett. We'll take care of you.
I will. Well, my wife and daughter already have.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's just I'm just holding out.
I know we're being jovial, but we're there for you.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, Sherman, I've really enjoyed talking with you. I know we could talk for a long time, and but I'm just going to close it up. But let me just say this, folks. St. Francis Hospital has been a very strong supporter of the Chamber of Commerce throughout the years, ever since y'all been here. And I know you're the title sponsor for the expo and some other events that we do, and we appreciate that very much. In closing, I'm going to leave it up to you, Sherman. What would you like to tell our viewers about St. Francis?
Absolutely. I'll end with the way I started, and that is St. Francis Bartlett is your community hospital. We are super excited about being the partners that we are with the mayor's office, with the chamber's office, with the Bartlett school system. We have major partnerships with them. We're training up tomorrow's youth for healthcare, and so we're excited. If you need healthcare, I want you to know that St. Francis Health, as well as St. Francis Bartlett Hospital, we hold quality care and embracing the entire family, that's the patient and their loved ones, as part of our responsibility, and we take that seriously.
Thank you very much, Sherman. I
Thank
really
you, John.
appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining us. We thank our guests, of course, and we also thank our sponsor, our underwriter, First South Financial, who's underwritten this podcast. So thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.